Northvolt should have been one of the emerging frontrunners, of course, in Europe, and it's still very important that the company will survive for strategic autonomy that the policymakers pursue in Europe. So hopefully the company will make it, because otherwise Europe will only lack more compared to China in terms of building its own supply chain for EVs.
What I would like to understand, though, is whether there's actually political appetite to provide the company with funds, because ultimately that's what they need. Would you say so? What would you like to see? How could this rescue actually look like?
That's a very fair question. I don't have the answer, to be honest. But if you look at the plans from the European Parliament, the policymakers in general, they seek to build autonomy, want to ramp up EV supply and also sales. So you should be able then to make these companies survive, I would say. And this is only one of the examples within the industry. There's more needed, required to build autonomy and to reduce dependency on China for batteries.
Rico, let's look more broadly at the state of EV production. There's been so many setbacks, really. What I would like to understand is how are the European companies comparing versus Chinese and American ones? Are there any sort of actually, developments that would suggest that EV production is completely, for lack of a better expression, not dead?
That European car makers struggle to keep up with the Chinese car manufacturers in terms of battery electric vehicles. So these are the incumbents, of course. And actually, the Chinese companies are far ahead in terms of productivity, in terms of innovation on EV. So that's a real struggle for European car makers at the moment. And in the first place, also in the Chinese market itself, because they're losing ground there at the moment. As it speaks, the coverage of European brands was 2/3 of the market in China. It's now collapsed to 1/3 only. And then we have this faltering demand for EVs in Europe itself. So it's really stagnating at the moment in Europe. So they're facing lagging and subdued demand on both sides, and in the meantime they need to keep up with the Chinese new competitors, and they also face the CO2 targets next year. So it's a real kind of perfect storm ongoing here.
Well, we were just reporting there how the Chancellor of Germany, Olaf Scholz, is meeting Xi Jinping, and they will be addressing some of the the struggles in the car maker space. What I would like to understand here is whether there's any room for some sort of deal that could actually see the elimination of EV tariffs that the Europeans have imposed on Chinese-produced cars.
I also understand that there's still negotiations ongoing in the background, but I actually doubt whether there will be a solution, because we have this investigation on support from the government in China itself, and distortion of the market, and that won't change with that, right? So the level playing field, so to say, needs to be adjusted to let these European manufacturers compete rightly with the Chinese ones. And I doubt whether there will be a solution for that that also fulfills the expectations of policymakers.